All right, time to get down to the Mr. GLOAT podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And today we are doing the Canelo Alvarez versus William Scull pay-per-view match. May the 3rd, live in the venue in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, from promoters Canelo Alvarez himself, followed with promoters like Bob Arum, Fernando Beltran, Eddie Hearn, Daniel Otter, Eddie Reynoso, Benjamin Shalom, and Frank Warren, followed by matchmaker Steve Furness, the timekeeper Jason Booth, and inspectors Tom Graves, Robin Smith, Guy Williamson, and Brian Sproston. Live from the Zone pay-per-view and ESPN Knockout from the Commission of British Boxing Board of Control. That's all we have to know about. So yesterday, guys, in Times Square, we've had a lot of interesting things I've talked about in that podcast. And there were some interesting things I actually didn't realize. And I'm sure there might be some hate for me about this, saying that the commentators were bad. And also, guys, I didn't know that Jim Lampley came back. Like, I knew that he was gone for a long time, even before COVID came in 2020. Like, he was gone since. I didn't know Jim Lampley, the guy that's been around with the guy that argued with Mayweather after the Ortiz fight, Larry Merchant. And he was involved with Emmanuel Stewart and George Foreman commentaries back in the day. I didn't know he actually came back in commentary. When I watched some of the commentary he did, his voice was not the voice that he was, but yeah, he did decent stuff. It's not like it's kind of crazy because, guys, when I went back and watched some of the stuff, I actually watched the 12th and final round from Devin Haney, which is kind of crazy for me to just talk about this now because it is kind of ridiculous. Or maybe it was something else. I don't know. Wait, let me click on the video. Let me find it out.
We know that finding high.
Just a second. I'm gonna play a video clip. This video has nothing to do with it. It only has to do with Saudi Arabia. But I just have to play this because when I look back, it's kind of crazy. And even though it's already well, wait, what time is it now? As of right now, it's already 1 o'clock p.m. right now, the 4th. As I'm already doing this episode right now because I'm trying to get this done before we do the Naoya Inoue versus Roman Cardenas. And even though I am predicting Roman Cardenas can do a good job, probably he might score an unbelievable knockout against Naoya Inoue. He might even do crazy stuff. Who knows? Depending on how comfortable Inoue is going to be back in the United States, it might affect him. So I'm just trying to get through this podcast before we do the May the 4th Naoya Inoue fight. But wait, let me just find this out. I'm trying to look this up. By the way, guys, I tried to find something on Reddit or other that someone recorded a video in Times Square saying that police officers were attacking some fans that were trying to get in the venue. And guys, it's kind of weird because a lot of fans that were there in Times Square could not even do nothing. Like, there's actually one photo of a bunch of people in Times Square with a large TV screen and a white truck blocking out the venue area. And you watch 12 rounds of that, it just makes you wonder, why would you even watch this? Wait, is this the one?
Take a nap here in Times Square.
Oh, wait. I think this is what he said.
Here, this is here.
I'm trying to find it right now. Wait.
It would be almost impossible for anyone to take a nap here in Times Square.
It would be impossible to take a nap in Times Square. Man, Jim. It's kind of weird, guys, because I didn't know Jim Lampley. I thought, guys, I don't talk about commentators as much because there's a lot of shows like Showtime or Showtime Boxing, HBO, and then DAZN. So it's hard for me to know what commentaries we're watching because this isn't like WWE. Like you're like you watch WrestleMania, you know who the Spanish commentators are if you look them up. You know who the other announcers are. This is a boxing show. It's not even an MMA, UFC type thing, even though it's hard for us to know who commentators are. So I actually ignore who the name commentators are because it's not like WWE. It's like, oh, we know who that voice is. That's Jim Ross. Oh, talking to Jerry Lawyer. Oh, it's Michael Cole with Byron Saxton. Who the heck are those guys? I don't know. So it is interesting. By the way, here's something else he also said.
This setting, amid this kind of activity, etc., etc. But if ever a fight between two high-quality fighters is capable of inducing a snooze or an act in Times Square, this might be it.
Dude, hearing him say that, Jim Lampy, I give credit to him. Now, there is people in comments, online comments, that are saying, man, the commentaries suck. And I guess maybe it's because Jim Lampley has been out of the commentary for like, how long has he been out? For like several years now? So it's great to see him back, and that has to be the best commentary. So I do apologize for saying that the commentary stinks. I'm not saying Mike Tyson stinks because he did good trying to put over Raito Tsutsumi. Heck, even BoxRec said Raito Tsutsumi is the most popular person on BoxRec. And even as I'm clicking on anything now, he's still getting a lot of votes right now for being the most person getting most liked in BoxRec. After 24-hour trending, he's getting the most votes than everyone else is. So you got to give him credit for that. But yeah, everything else about that show in Times Square was not good. Anyway, it's almost been 7 minutes, so let's get down to the pay-per-view. So, ladies and gentlemen, turn the TV off. I'm just going to point this out, guys, because it is interesting, and but it's not interesting because it's oh boy. Guys, this is a real pain in the butt because I didn't see the main event. Because something told me it wasn't going to be a good match. And thank God, because I only saw the highlights. Now, I have seen the Cruiserweight fight, but we'll get to that in a moment. Let me get to the fight card again. Yep, we got all that done. So, guys, looking up the Canelo versus Scull fight card here, we're going live on this sportingnews.com for the fight card. So the fight card had the first fight on the show with Mohamed Al-Khail from Saudi Arabia. Defeats Alexander Morales in 6 rounds via decision, scoring his 4th win. But yet again, when looking at it, I don't think it really mattered how the fight is because the fighter he took on against was 6-13-5. That was his record. And Al-Khail got his 4th win. But yet again, here's the problem. At 20 years old, I really can't say that, yes, he's number 1 in his country. He's the only person rated in BoxRec in Saudi Arabia in the lightweight. He's rated number 443. But yet again, I just don't see a good future in him. Like, even BoxRec gave him a 1-star rating on this match, which is his first star. But yet again, even his debut fighter he took on against last October was far better than his other 3 fights. But yet again, I can't say much about that. But surprisingly, we did get a little bit of great fighting from one great dude that we managed to get involved with. But yet again, that's just me saying the obvious because even though I'm only going to try to skip through all these fights because there's not a lot of entertaining fights on this show, but surprisingly, there is one interesting fight that managed to put a good winning here where we have Marco Verdi taking on Mikel Paulina. Marco was in his debut taking on a 4-5-3 fighter, which is not bad for a fighter to start in his debut there. And decency or not, it was pretty good to see them take the cake. The fight started off with both guys just stunning each other. They're just throwing punches. Verdi is mostly wearing a little bit of gray type black trunks. Paulina is wearing a white belt, similar color than anyone else's, like Alexander Usyk and Darren Dubois, almost. So mostly it's not hard to know who's who. But yeah, again, the fight went on easily. Paulina was scaring off, mostly Verdi was scaring off Paulina in fights. He was throwing out combination punches early on. He scared him to the ropes at one point, and then he actually started throwing a little bit of a body punch here, and then he threw a 2-punch combination from here to a left body punch, brought him down in 20 seconds of the round, which was a good start for Verdi to start his debut off like that, which is similar than Mike Tyson, how he took on his first opponent. And yeah, and even though the venue was really quiet, like there is times where you see people in the background wearing those white sheets or something, like, you know, those like Turkey Al-Sheikh and his men, because Saudi Arabia wears those clothes, and you see those people in the background that are like ghosts. It's like if you watch a show for the first time, you would already know this is Saudi Arabia. But it was just a weird thing. You're seeing a bunch of empty seats in the arena. It's not like, people always say, why is there so many empty seats in the arena when you watch these first matches on show? It's not like WWE. The thing is, WWE is a full 3 or 4 hour show of probably 3 hours of Monday Night Raw back in the day. I don't know if they're doing 2 hours. Maybe they're still doing 3 hours. I don't know. But of course, all fans are going to be there from start to finish, even if the main event is over, but they still have a promo to do. Either way, but yeah, in boxing matches, people don't pay their full money ticket to watch all the matches. They came to pay for that one fight, and it's the main event. So it is sad to see a debut fighter like Verdi not get his first debut in the track like Mike Tyson did in '85. So it is sad. But yet again, he went on. He came on and he did what he did. And the referee said continue to fight. And then seconds later, he went on for a punch to the face, left, right, and then he just threw another combination that was almost like a ghost phantom punch, and which brought Paulina down for a second time. And surprisingly, considering how the guy continued to fight for another minute or so, he just went on and just fought his way as best he could. But still, Verdi just did everything he could. He went in, he scared his fighter, he went to the ropes, he covered him, did this or that. He was just throwing multiple punches all the way. But even though this is Marco's first professional fight, it was a good debut for him, and I wish him best of luck. He was scaring his opponent. He was cornering him to one of the corner ropes, throwing multiple punches at him, and by 1 minute 30 seconds, the referee stopped the fight. So it was a good fight for a start of his career, which is actually good. I don't want to review these matches because I don't want this to be a long video, but you got to give him credit. He did a good job. He got the fight. He got the earnings. And I'm not going to talk about the commentaries because I've done enough about that. And so I'm not going to get to that. But yet again, it had decency, and technically I enjoyed it for what it was. But all in all, it had its moments because it was a quick fight. And it's hard to see these open fights happen first round knockouts, even for a debut fighter. Like Raito Tatsumi I wouldn't say he had a great fight at that moment, but it was far better than anything else in Times Square. So seeing Marco get his first win like that, you got to give him credit. He did what he did and went in there and took on a fighter that had more fighting than he did, but he did what he did. The next fight was Richard Riakporhe versus Kevin Nicholas. Now, Kevin Nicholas wearing nothing but a little bit of a tiny bit of no belt or something, I think. All black. And mostly as for Richard, well, he was mostly wearing like a gray type trunk suit or something. It's hard to tell. The thing about Richard is that because he's 17-1 record against the 9-9 record of Kevin, this is it. He's actually, after his loss for the WBO against Chris Bill Smith, I wasn't really expecting him to get nothing done in the heavyweight. He did have a heavyweight fight in November of 2023 and sort of almost in 2022 and almost in 2021 he almost had a heavyweight fight. So I can assume this might have been his second, but yet again, I'm just going to assume it should have been because of it. Even though his 14-0 fighter that he took on 2022 is considered as a cruiserweight fight, even though his opponent was 201, so he overweighted. But everything else about this fight, Kevin Nicholas was a 297-pound dude with a 9-9 record, 235. Kevin Nicholas. I couldn't say much about this fight other than it was just a good warm-up fight to get him into the ranks again and being the heavyweight. And he had some decencies in the fight. He had some interesting stuff here or there. He had interesting starts. And also the commentators, I will say though, the commentators' names were Corey Erdeman, Sergio Mora, and Chris Mannix. Don't know much about those guys. I hear their commentaries or something. Well, let's not get into that. But I'm not going to get into it because it's going to be hard for me to know who's talking. So let's just ignore these ones. But yeah, the fight itself did have some interesting stuff where Richard did start it off scaring his opponent. And there are times they had their moments just staying in the middle. But even though Espinoza or Espinodola was running away, going from rope to rope, clockwise. They had their moments in first and even in the second round where Kevin was punching him while in the ropes. It was just an easy, good fight for Kevin. Even the time in the first minute of the second round, they did put in a clinch, which had to be one of the first clinches I guess they had. They also promoted a movie while in the fight called Final Destination, open in theaters on May the 16th, which is crazy enough, but yet again, that's what I wrote down on my notepad here, but yet again, what else can I say about it? But everything else, couldn't say much about it. They had their moments. There was a moment where Kevin did push Richard away from him before the end of the second round. And they also did a bunch of other stuff, but yet again, I wouldn't say there was a lot of entertainment stuff into this just because that the venue was quiet. There were some fans like Eddie Hearn and other promoters were in the background seating areas at the time, like in areas to the side of where Richard's corner team are, I guess. And other people to the other side of the corners. And then there is camera angles where one time Richard did try to fight Kevin in one of the corner rings at 30 seconds left of the third round. And there were fans in the bleachers, so you could see some fans and children being there. But was the place going to get packed either way before the main event? Well, I can't say much about it, but before the fourth round came, they did come to a wide camera shot of a drone shot or something of other people coming into the venue. So there were more people actually coming to the venue during the fourth round. But everything else promoted, they were promoting everything from AutoZone. They were even promoting everything else before the fight and such. But yeah, anyway, around 2 minutes, about 2 minutes into the fourth round with only 1 minute left, they get to a clinch. Kevin comes in. He throws out multiple two-punch combinations, which was a left, and then they uppercut. Down goes Kevin. He gets the count around until the 8 count or so, and they just continue the fight, which was pretty interesting. It was a knockout nonetheless, but yeah, Kevin did come out. He started trying to throw wide punches, trying to scare Richard off, and Richard wasn't throwing anything in the final 30 seconds of the round, or that is until they started clinching each other before the fight ended. But of course, they went on, and for some reason, his trainer, Kevin Nicholas's trainers, decided to say, that's enough. Well, pretty much. Is that what they said? Wait. Let me try to find that video again. Wait. Let me see. Wait, did they actually said that they were actually done, or is Kevin? Wait. Let me find it. Here it is. 1 second. I just want to know what happened. Wait.
And Espinola will make
Wait a minute. Did he stop the fight? Or maybe?
Speaking of British,
I don't know.
Speaking of cruiserweights that moved up to
Ladies and gentlemen, after 4
Yeah, I think they actually, I think he quit. Their fighter. Okay, so maybe, okay, so the corner man retired their fighter, not Kevin. Okay, at first I thought Kevin retired, but I guess their cornerman retired him because the announcer said it. Okay. Yeah, either way. Guys, I can, but still, good win for Richard. But, yeah, as for Brayan Leon versus Aaron Rocha Guerrero, even though we're at 20 minutes of this podcast right now, and I want to get through all this, Brayan gets his 7th win, takes on Aaron Rocha. Nothing interesting about the fight. Oh yeah, and by the way, the judging fights of a competition is similar than British boxing because the British Boxing Board is responsible for this. Why does this thing have to play? Stop. But the British Boxing Board also has those referee rules. You know, like the referee is the only judge of the fight. That happens all the time, and that's how Tyson Fury defeated Michael McDonald, or Jamie McDonald in their first meeting because the referee raised Tyson's hands before the announcer announced the winner. But yeah, everything else, the fight went 60-54. And by the way, even when the fight started with Brayan Leon versus Aaron Rocha, they had Turki Al-Sheikh, a camera inside the ring, showing Turki Al-Sheikh shaking hands with all his businessmen and his VIP partners and friends and such, showing that they were entering the ring for some reason, which is kind of ridiculous. Like they're showing a shot of him entering the ring, and it's just ridiculous because I just can't say why the fight would actually start in the first round and they're watching Turki Al-Sheikh walk into the ring. It's like, were they trying to turn it into a WWE thing? It's like, oh, The Rock is on against the Big Show. Oh, Shane McMahon comes out. Oh, he attacks The Rock with the chair. Both The Rock and Big Show are down. Oh, wait, we're cutting to a hard cam. We're cutting to a camera outside of the ring. Oh, Vince McMahon's entering limousine. Oh, Triple H, Stephanie get off their chairs. They leave the room while there's a match going on. And, oh, Shane McMahon's reaction. Watches. Oh, and look, Triple H is saying hi, Vince. Oh, Vince punches Triple H. Oh, he's entering the ring. Oh, look at that. Oh, he punches Shane McMahon. He takes the referee's shirt off. Oh, The Rock gets up, puts the Rock bottom. 1, 2, 3. The Rock is going to WrestleMania. Unbelievable. It almost looks like that's what they were doing. The first round, they had this fight happen with Brayan Leon dominating the fight, and it cuts to a full 3 minutes of the entire first round, showing him walk into the ring, shake hands with Bob Arum, and then it cuts back to camera for the fight until the rounds ends. It's like, what was the entertainment of that? It just was ridiculous. But everything else about the fight had its own, I wouldn't say character, but yet again, there was a moment in round 4 where they were, there was a moment in round 4 that they had their moments pushing themselves together. By the way, Brayan Leon is also wearing an American suit with the name Leon, the King, on the belt. So it's like King, the belt line here shows the King, and the backside shows Leon, red letters, by the way, all red letters, with him wearing the American stripe on his body. But yet again, but all in all, I couldn't really say much about the fight other than the 4th round where they had their moments. They were pushing each other. And around that time, Rayon went for a left punch counter, and then he gets cornered to ring. For some reason, it said that Rocha was actually pushing Brayan to the ropes, and then he was throwing multiple punches, but got caught by a left by Brayan that took him down, and the referee counted. He got back up. He did manage to finish the 6-round fight, or is it 6? Wait, let me check it up. Let me look up on boxing. Yes, 6 rounds. So he got up from that 4th round knockout, and the 6 rounds of fight, Bob Williams, the referee, that also referee Marco Verda fight, he scores at 60-54. I had 60-53 because of the 4th round knockout there, and also the other referees like Howard Foster did the Richard versus Kevin Nicholas fight, and Muhammad Al-Khail was being refereed to the Alexander fight by Kieran McCann. But yeah, that's about it. So was there any entertainment of the fight card in the beginning part? Well, I do feel bad because it is bad that there's a lot of fighters that don't get a lot of attention for fans, but it's great that the venue was packing up quickly before the first big fight came. Efe Ajagba versus Martin Bacall. Oh boy. Yeah, Efe Ajagba versus Martin Bacall. Guys, I am not going to like this fight. I'm not liking it at all.
Have you heard of Dixon?
Stop. I'm tired of it. It's kind of weird, guys, because while trying to look up more about Martin Bacall and trying to find interviews right now as we're speaking, it's kind of interesting because I try to find information of how Efe Ajagba's confidence is and Martin Bacall and their interviews are, if anyone's been interviewed to them in post-fights and conferences before the fight. And I will say I did find interesting information, but if I had to explain it, we'll be here all day because I don't want to make this a long podcast, but Jesus, my foot. But yeah, I really don't know what to say about this because, like, guys, this 10-round fight looked like Efe Ajagba was running away. I watched this 10-round fight to think if Martin Bacall can recover. Here's the thing, guys. You know what upsets me most about this is that these are two guys that are not British. These two guys are born from different parts of a different country. One from the country of like the Kanaga of Democratic Republic of the Congo, and another guy from Nigeria. So you have two guys that are not British, not American. They're from other countries that aren't successful, and the odds of them getting big title shots are impossible. And this fight ends in a majority draw, with one judge scoring it 96-94 by Efe Ajagba. The other is 95 even. And I look at the fight, and it was a hard problem. Because you had Efe Ajagba winning round 1. He wins round 3. Martin Bacall comes out in round 4. But then Ajagba comes back to round 5, 6, 7. And then in round 8, 9, and 10, Bacall gets those last rounds. I will say, though, the only closeness of everything about this was the second round of the fight. And I do mean it. So both these guys are 6'6". Bacall's under 300, 240 for Ajagba. Ajagba's 31, Bacall's 33. These two guys are just trying to recover from a lot of stuff that they just can't get used to. Their records are done, but they can still try to put out a world title for themselves in life. They come into the fight for a 10-round fight. They beat each other up, and I wouldn't really say much about it. And then they come to the second round, and they're handling each other pretty good. They're both banging each other, and they both even each other up is pretty good. Like, after 3 minutes, it was hard to decide who won that round. And I thought Efe Ajagba might have won that second round. You can write it off saying Bacall barely got round 2, and I'm sure a lot of people, maybe 40% people think Bacall won, and 60% like myself thought Ajagba won. I thought Ajagba might have won that round clearly. Like, the second round might have been the only round to make you wonder who won that round, and that was the cost of this entire fight. All the other 9 rounds were clear winners. We already know who won round 1. We already know who won round 3 to round 10. I just feel like the second round was the most closest round that it makes you wonder. Because, yes, I had 5-4 for a Jagba winning after 9 rounds. And then the second round would be like, oh, maybe a Jagba won or a Bakali won, meaning it was 5-5 even. So maybe that's why the judges had it. So was it controversial? Well, looking back at it right now, even as today, which was last night when this whole thing happened, I don't think this was a controversial fight as much. But it is controversial because I do claim that I did actually make a claimant. I don't know. I did claim that FA was running so much or something. Understanding why you would face someone to Bakali after winning multiple rounds, and then you have Bakali beating him in the last rounds, giving him a draw, which cost a Jagba the fight. Because first, you had to tire him out. Standing toe-to-toe with a guy that had a really interesting, a dangerous track record. Like, because a powerful fighter is pretty good. And even though Bakali is a strong fighter, and even though he gets over his head because he was a few days' notice and not in shape for the Joshua fight, you still can't underestimate him. He's still going to be a different fighter than he was last February. So I knew that. But when trading punches and such, the thing was, Bakali, a Jagba was making Bakali miss while chasing him. Like, is that running away? Well, it's actually a strategy. I wouldn't say it's running away, but it is actually a strategy ploy. But if you do that all the time in other rounds, like the Devin Haney fight, or a little bit of Teofimo Lopez a little bit, it doesn't get entertaining. The fight itself had its moments, but just because in the first couple rounds of the fight, and even in round 3 and such, I could talk about a lot of the stuff moments, such as how round 3, where in round 3 there was great moments for Bakali trying to throw jabs and such. And even though Jagba, like I said before, he backs to the ropes, like he's being the defensive side, and Bakali, this heavy dude. And even though like round 3 was a pretty good round, just seeing him trying to run away, and then he tricks him, puts him against the ropes in the final minute or so. Or even the time in round 4 where Bakali finally had a Jagba in the first minute of that round, and he was punching him multiple times and getting a Jagba caught into the ropey-dope thing. It's pretty not bad. The first 5 or so rounds were not bad, but then you... Of course, even after round 7, when Martin Bakal looked like he was getting some stuff in or so, but of course, by the time, like, don't get me wrong, even though a Jagba did got a little bit tired of himself running away, which might have been the cause why Bakali managed to outbox him in the last 3 rounds, because a Jagba's chasing and running away got him tired. I think people have to understand, heavyweight people that are really heavy like myself, we can't do that crazy jab flick, doing this back and forth like Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney or even Floyd Mayweather or even Manny Pacquiao or Naoya Inoue, because at the end of the day, we're big guys. And if you're a 14-stone type guy in a cruiserweight, yes, sometimes your body can maybe handle that type of stuff. But if you're a heavy 250-pound person, it's really tough. Yes, Tyson Fury, but he's 6'9", and sometimes his body weight proportions, depending on how much he weighs in a fight, whether it's 240 or 260 or 70 pounds, his body weight could handle some mobility for his movement sometimes. So, but the heavier you are, the more tired your body could get. So that might have been an interesting fact on F.A. Ajagba in the last few rounds, which is my opinion. Like, even though I did a claim accusing out why FA was running away, but when looking at it, you have to beat a guy by making him chase you while missing and working smart. But it seemed like Ajagba was too tired in the last couple rounds, and Ajagba managed to use that offensive to win the last 3 rounds. So that was his fault. And he's already sobbing out his eyes right now and accusing that the fight was robbed. He robbed himself. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I could say that even though one of the judges did got it right, but maybe the other 2 judges also got it right. I could see this being 96-94 Ajagba, but yet again, it could be 95 even for a draw. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but the problem is, betwixt all of us, the problem is, I think Ajagba wasn't thinking clearly, and if Ajagba ever takes on an American boxer or even a champion like Alexander Usyk, there's no way he's going to survive. And even though I did say that Agit Kabayel has some weaknesses of his boxing career as well, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that Agit Kabayel is better than Joseph Parker or Joseph Parker is better than anyone else, even if he had suffered 3 losses. It's not like I do question Agit Kabayel back in March of 2023 when he took on Agron Smanitsky, when a guy that dominated him in round 1 and then knocked him down in round 2. And Agron managed to recover, and by round 3, he comes back in the 3rd round and beats him up to win back his EBU European heavyweight title. And then people were questioning, oh man, Arslanbek Makhmudov is going to murder him in Day of Reckoning. And it was the complete opposite. People thought it was going to be the same thing for Frank Sanchez. Complete opposite. And Zhou Zhang, complete opposite. Yet again, that doesn't mean Kabayel had his own problems when he got knocked out by Zhang in round 5 and then comes out back in round 6 and does body shots in the entire fight to win. But we're human beings, and who knows? Like, guys, only God knows if Naoya Inoue is going to get knocked out by Roman Cardenas, and if that happens, well, we're human beings. We have to make mistakes, and we have to learn from those mistakes to be better. And I think we have to learn about that. Because, guys, if I'm going to say I'm going to become a professional bowler, I have to learn what it's like to understand that if you get gutter balls, you got to learn. And you got to learn from those mistakes. Because at the end of the day, you're still going to do gutter balls even if you're a professional. Even professionals out there can still do gutter balls to this day and even miss pins. So, yeah. So we have to learn that to be better. Is it going to mean that we can still have an undefeated record? Oh, only God knows. But, guys, I don't want to talk about this fight. I do not want to talk about this fight. I do not want to talk about this fight. Bruno Saras versus Jaime Munguia 2. Oh, boy. Guys, I just want to point this out. I actually did not watch this fight after the Ajagba and Bakali fight. So I thought to myself, I was just going to watch the highlights of the video on DAZN because I just didn't. Guys, I was respecting Jaime Munguia after his loss against Canelo Alvarez because at least the fight was close. But after his loss against Bruno, I had zero respect for him. So I decided to actually watch the highlights they did on DAZN Boxing or even Ring Magazine. And well, here's the 2 highlight videos that actually show the clips. The first one is 2 minutes and 11 seconds by Ring Magazine. Top Rank Boxing has 1 million views of their fight they had 4 months ago. But it's not there anymore because Ring Magazine isn't there, or Top Rank. Bob Arum wasn't there because he's in the USA helping Naoya Inoue. And DAZN already had 3 minutes and 5 seconds. So, yeah, let's watch the highlights so I can tell you guys. So, yeah, guys, I wrote 0 notes down because I was just not interested. It was bad. It was bad. So all we know is that Saraz is a person that's wearing white and Munguia wearing tan trunks. We come to round 3. He scares off his opponent with shots and corners him to the ring before the final seconds of round 3. 30 seconds left. They both throw punch combinations at each other. And Why am I talking about this? Oh boy, let's just get into this. All we know is they scare each other with punches off as they do, and they come to round 5. Well, Munguia's just scaring off his opponents. He's running away. He's the offensive. Saras is doing clockwise and counterclockwise, I guess. They even sponsored a thing called Corona Premier Alcohol while in the 6th round. And then they show replays of Munguia scaring off Saras, throws body punches, this or that, and then ding ding, the bell rings after round 8, round 7. I don't know. All I know is I was not interested in this fight because I had zero respect for Munguia for everything. He comes to round 10, he throws out shots in the corner, corners him again. And of course, Saras is throwing punches to himself, I guess, but not a lot of punches, scaring him off in round 10. And Munguia scares him again with more shots in 10th round, but then the bell rings. And then they even go to round 11 and... Guys, I need a soda. I'm just not into this fight. All we know is they just come to the fight. They announce the winner. Saras raises his hands for God knows why, but they award the winner to Jaime Munguia. He's the winner. Hooray! I don't know what to say about this. Wow. I really don't know what to say about that. I just don't know what to say, guys. So the scores were 2 times, 117 to 111 by 2. 116 to 112 by 1 judge. Favored Munguia the winner. That's it. When that fight ended, I was thinking to myself, the cruiserweight has to score a knockout because we know Canelo is going to go 12 rounds to decision. And I'm thinking to myself, is William Scull going to do something? Who knows? So now we go to... You know what, guys? I'm just gonna forget about the Zone Boxing Ring Magazine. I'm not gonna look at the other highlight they did of the Jaime Munguia. I'm not. I'm just I'm not going for it. To be honest, guys, let's just review the fight that I was interested in looking for. First, let me just buy myself a drink. Wash the palate cleanser on my throat. Wait, what do my notes say? Let me get to my notes. To be honest, guys, I didn't write a lot of notes down. I just wrote simple stuff that was not much to be talked about. So, guys, I do think Badu Jack is like the next person to be at his old age. Because at 41 years old, I wouldn't say he has much of a career left in him. Like, the thing is, guys, Badu Jack is this guy that... Okay, let me be a straight talker here. Guys, I'm going to be a straight talker here and just try to get this through. So, Badu Jack. So, after Jean Pascal defeated Badu Jack back in 2019 for the WBA regular light heavyweight title and the WBC silver light heavyweight title on BoxRec, after this fight, he changed his career. Badu Jack decided to go to other promotionals at his time. Like after his loss against Jean Pascal on the Tom Brown promotion and Leonard fight, which isn't saying the least because he went to Jimmy Birchfield Promotions, where it was famous for Jake Paul taking on Nate Robinson, the basketball player. Badu Jack went 8 rounds distance against undefeated Blake McKernan, undefeated. And that was the same night where Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr., which was it was just an exhibition fight. And then months later, on June the 6th, he goes back with Leonard Ellerbe promotion with where Luis Arias defeated Jarrett Hurd in a split decision 10-round contest fight. And other promotion at the time, where Badu defeated Dervin Colina by a round 4 TKO when his opponent was 15-0 undefeated, and his opponent was deducted points and getting knockdowns by himself. So that's crazy. I don't think no one expected Jack to win those undefeated fights. And then by November, he goes to Dubai, involved for, at this moment, there's nothing much I can say about it. Like, he gets involved by promotions of just an Emirates promoter, and Jack takes on a 11-1-1 fighter, gets him by round 2 KO, and then he comes by in May of 2022 and August the 20th of 2022 in 2 fights. He goes back to Duhabi in Dubai, or somewhere in the Arab Emirates again, in a 2-fight show by a guy named Kiani Jonas in a 2 professional fight promotion with Define Pursuit fighting for the WBC Silver Super Featherweight Women's vacant title against LM Mekhalad, which was a close fight. And then Badu Jack took on Hani Atio, a 17-5 fighter, and got him by round 1 in 46 seconds. That's a pretty interesting show. And then, of course, the August fight where it had promoted for the Alexander Usyk versus Anthony Joshua 2 fight. Yeah, he was there as well, and Phil Perkovich defeated Joey Zhang that same night, and other stuff with Callum Smith trying to get back to rankings, and seeing Badu Jack win that fight against undefeated Richard Rivera that same night by 10-round split decision, with all 3 judges scoring it 96-94, 2 in favor for Badu. Yeah, it made you wonder. He was just being an underdog favorite in some fights because some people never thought he was going to win any fights. But yeah, he wins 5 fights back, and by February, he defeats Ilunga Junior Makabu for the WBC title. Cruiserweight, 3-weight class champion. The same guy that was getting promoted by Don King when Don King took him to America in the January fight against another South African fighter, and the same show where Trevor Bryan defeated Jonathan Goudry. Yeah. And also, Makabu also fought against Norer Milakajan in November of 4th in Jai Ale, Miami, in USA as well, with the WBC vacant title, when it stated that Badu got vacated the title for some reason. I forgot the information. And of course, Noer defeated him with 3 rounds by TKO, the same Don King promotion in November 2023. But he hasn't fought for a year and a half since, until May the 3rd. Heck, even Badu Jack has been out of the ring for 2 years. But surprisingly, on December of 2024, they did reward the title back to Badu Jack for reasons. I guess he was an interim or championship of recess. There was some information about something happened, but for reasons why. I might as well have to look that up right now to understand the reasons for this. Because Badu Jack, I'm not questioning the problems that's been happening out in the ring because I don't know what happened to him at the time. But information says here that Jack was declared championship in recess after opting to challenge WBC Bridgeweight title, which is why he vacated the belt on September of 2023. 2 months before Noir defeated Makabu. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. But yes, Badu would get the champion reinstated because Noir was had declared championship of recess due to inactivity. So they gave Jack the belt back, and guess what? He comes out in this fight and wins. I will say though, was the fight boring in competition? Well, both guys were standing in the ring. They're both in their orthodox fashions for what they were doing at the time. Well, mostly as for anyone else would think, because technically these guys were past their prime. Noir, well, technically he's around his mid-30s, but yet again, with Badu Jack being in his early 40s, he's already 6 for 6 in his last 6 fights. And Noir, even though these were two former champions at themselves, and now they're fighting for the belt, and this is Jack trying to defend it, the fight went on as nothing more than an interesting fight. They had their own toughness. And I'm sure a lot of fans at the time that were watching this were like, wait a minute, I thought Badu Jack retired. He was gone for over a couple years. Why is he back? How is he even given this title? Do we even know that he was a title? Unless if you look it up online. But yeah, the fight itself, I wouldn't really say it was much interesting because even though there were times where Badu Jack was running away and Noir, and the thing was, guys, in the first rounds of the fight had their own stuff. And I'm not going to get into it as much because it's not that much all that interesting. Because you have Noir just getting some interesting wins here in rounds. And it's like from round 3, had a little bit of a Jack round. You go to round 4, you go to round 5. Noir was just throwing every single punch worth the man. If that makes any sense because of it. But then Jack comes back in round 6 and hurts out his opponent really well and all symptoms for what he was doing because of it. But I wouldn't really say there was much to the fight itself other than like take that for what you will. There was one moment in the fight around, I think it was like probably I think it was like the 4th or 5th round. The bell rings, and then the camera cuts backstage to Canelo Alvarez getting his hands wrapped, and he's being really calmed. And I'm sure he's thinking this is going to be an easy, undisputed win for me here. And he's actually wearing a random like teddy bear shirt with blue boxing gloves and arms like this, just like this teddy bear shirt with Canelo on his shirt, and he's just. It's I don't know. It's kind of a weird shirt. I don't know where do you get that shirt from? That's pretty crazy. I don't know where you get that shirt from. I'm really interested. That's the only thing I'm more interested about than watching or even reviewing the fight on my notes because of it. Like, I don't know where you even get that, but it's so ridiculous. But yeah. And by the way, guys, keep this in mind. Originally, Ryan Rozuski, Bridgeweight fighter in Canada, was originally supposed to fight for this fight. But he got taken out due to some type of injury, so they had a last week replacement, which is why Noir came into this fight. So originally, Ryan Rozuski from Canada was originally supposed to take on Badu Jack. So Nogueira was just another replacement. So I was expecting another day's noticed fight win here for Nogueira, which is what I really thought that it was going to be. Like you can't expect anything to be that simple. But yeah, they do come by, and I just think after everything else happening from each round, I'm sure there was a moment in round 6 or round 5 there was a reporter that was reporting to someone outside the stage. I forgot his name. I think it was Opataya. But yet again, I think after round 6 was interesting because he just came in there and just threw everything. But everything else about this fight, seeing Badu come back in round 6 and just throw in round 7. Round 8 had some closeness in rounds. And even round 9 and round 10, seeing Nogueira just coming back, winning after round was pretty good. Like, you had him getting round 10 and then round 11, round 12. I think Badu Jack got round 11. Like, I had the scores 115 to 113 for Nogueira, but for some reason, the judges had it 115 to 113 for Badu Jack. 114 even for one judge, and that's all you have to know. So, yeah, eventually, the fight itself wasn't always that pleasant for the heck of it, but yet again, I wouldn't say there was a lot of boringness into this fight. Like even though there was one moment in round 3 that there was a lot of headlocks, or punches. Like, there was one moment in round 5 where there were actually there's a moment where Nogueira was trying to duck punches that Jack was running, and then he ran through and went behind Nogueira for some reason. And the referee gave him a warning for that. But yet again, how is they supposed to know that? But yet again, if you have to trick your fighter, you have to do something. There was one moment in round 6 where it looked like Nogueira was going to lose round 6. Hello? Okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry for the camera. Podcast happens all the time. So, yeah, like I was about to say, after I realized the camera turned off seconds after I talked about the 6th round, when believing that Nogueira won the round, but in reality it was just Jack, so I made that mistake. But yeah, seeing Jack dominate round 7 and probably as well, just like 6 and 7, and 8 was another round that might have been a good Jack round, even though Nogueira was doing an interesting job, or Noel, people. Like, on Wikipedia, they call him Noel, Noel, but in BoxRec, they call him Norair, Norair, so I don't know how to call him. But he comes out, he boxes his way through, and he does come back in the 9th round, as Noel does, and he dominated out through round 9 and 10, and Jack did come back and did squeak out round 11. And round 12, well, was an ending round for Nogueira, so I gave it to him and had it 115 to 113. One judge, 114 even, but the other 2 judges had it different than mine. They had 115 to 113 for Jack, so yeah, I don't know about that. I find that one a tiny bit more controversial than the heavyweight fight, but I think at the end of the day, we just have to live with it. Finally. So after taking 15 minutes off from downloading my gigabytes off my phone, taking a break from my sore throat, I got 0 things to say about this main event fight. Guys, if the Naoya Inoue doesn't do a good job in his main event tonight at 11:15 p.m., if I ever think about waiting that long, technically this will not be much of a thing to talk about. Because after watching this fight, having Rolly Rolando defeat Ryan Garcia in his first title match, which might be his last. Seeing this undisputed fight of super middleweight. If Inoue's undisputed title fight doesn't do good tonight, I don't know what to say. I'm just out of it. And I have no idea what to say about this because I feel dirty. Guys, I wanted to support William Scull because of this. And it's crazy. You want to know what's even more crazy? When clicking back to BoxRec, I later realized that Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford already signed a fight deal on September the 12th in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Nevada Athletic Commission. So they already signed that fight already. Now, guys, Alvarez, he's not in his prime anymore, but I wish Canelo Alvarez luck. He needs all the luck he can get because, guys, like I said before, Canelo Alvarez has already defended out his WBC title since 2020 with his win against Callum Smith and even the WBA belt as well, but I can't find it on BoxRec. But he did get it from Smith. His title defenses against Anvi Yildirim, Billy Joe Saunders, and Caleb Plant, which were great knockout wins. Well, 2 of them were cornerman retirements, and Caleb Plant, which was his last knockout win in round 11. Not a good fight, but at least it ended in a knockout fight, which was great. A better super middleweight title fight, undisputed, than this. Months later, he loses against Dmitry Bivol. They decide to give him another fight against Gennady Golovkin, which was boring. He goes back to Mexico after a long time. Like, the last time he's ever been in Mexico was since the Kermit Kintron fight back in November 26, 2011. So seeing him come back to Mexico, I wouldn't really think much about it. With John Ryder, okay. Jermell Charlo that same year in 2023. 6 title defenses, great. Then he gets his 7th and 8th title defense against Munguia and Edgar Berlanga. The Munguia fight was a tiny bit more better than Berlanga, far better than William Scull fight. He gets this William Scull fight, his 9th title defense, for him defending his WBC and WBA title. So he's already defended those titles 9 times. So if he does defend his title against Terence Crawford for a 10th time in super middleweight, I can say that's actually a pretty good job, depending on how the outcome is going to be. Because Canelo Alvarez, I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Guys, I didn't see much of this fight other than knowing the beginning part of the fight where William Scull put in an interesting run. He started throwing multiple jabs in the fight. Multiple jabs, this or that. And there were times that Canelo was scaring him off in some moments, getting him to the ropes once in a while. The first round, I thought it was a Canelo round, but I gave it to William Scull. But I think a lot of people are going to give it to Canelo. But I decided to give it to William Scull in the first round because this might be a long 12-round fight, and Canelo Alvarez might win by domination, which is why I gave William Scull the first round. This makes sense why I'm not a boxing judge, because I might just give rounds to fighters that shouldn't have deserved to win the round. So, hey, that's one thing you guys might have learned about me. This is why I'm not going to be a professional judge. But you know what? If I ever get to YouTube or other stuff in the future with other people, who knows? But of course, when Canelo gets to round 2, it's whole differently. Like in round 3, there was a moment when Scull got through round 3, and in round 10, there was one moment in round 10 when me and I think the officiated commentators, we all agreed that maybe William Scull won round 10 and so on. But you could write it off as Canelo getting that round. But at the end of the day, I had 117 to 111 for Canelo winning this fight. Judges had it 119 to 109, which the officiated score commentator scored it. And the other scores, 116 to 112. Okay. I don't know how. and 115 to 113. All favored Canelo. They really want to make this fight closer than you expected. But the problem is, guys, when you watch the first 4 rounds of the fight, I would be like, all right, well, at least the first 4 rounds were like, okay, interesting or not. There were moments that William Scull was tricking his fighter out. He was running away, doing some more stuff than F.A. Ajagba was. But in other times, sometimes those things work in fights, sometimes they don't. There were times that they were putting in clinches. And by the way, guys, even in the fight, like the hard camera or the camera angle, which features the beginning part of the match, shows a bunch of people wearing white nightgowns with Turki Al-Sheikh and all his friends with all their white dresses on, dressed like ghosts, which I'm not trying to offend that, but I'm just saying, I'm sure if some people are watching this, they'll be like, why would we want to watch a boxing match with people dressed up in all dresses similar than everyone else's? Yes, it's Saudi Arabia. It's a traditional thing. And I'm just saying that it might affect some fans, and even other people are like, is it appropriate to watch a boxing match while you have random people outside wearing similar clothes? Even if you know that this fight is from another country, I don't know. Like, even watching the George Foreman and Joe Frazier fight, one fight in Jamaica, which that took place, it was a different environment. So I guess it's normal for what people are. I guess if you just ignore the environment, but I'm just questioning what the fans are thinking of looking at it. Like, they're looking at the promoters there, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, and other people on the side. So it does question me when I see that, but who knows? But even in round 3 was crazy, because in round 3 there were moments where they had moments of time where, yeah, both fighters were evening each other up. And then, of course, it seemed like William Scull had a 2-1 lead. And I'm sure the first 2 judges were giving close scores. But then after round 4, everything else went dirty on. Yes, there were times that William Scull was throwing hard punches at once and heavy punches and trying to trick out. And there were times that Canelo was throwing wild punches. There was one moment of the fight in early rounds where Canelo was throwing a heavy right punch, misses. William ducks and puts his hands up like he won the fight. And there was another moment where Canelo threw another heavy wild punch and got away. But the thing is, if William Scull was like, he's going to back away, because I'm sure if Naoya Inoue was in the ring and someone threw a wild punch and missed, he can still angle his body and throw a punch back and hurt Canelo. Just like how Tyson Fury or other fighters went through Alexander Usyk. So seeing Canelo miss wild punches and William getting out of the way, yeah, I can already tell William Scull had no chance of winning. If he couldn't handle the error mistakes that Canelo was missing wild punches like that, then there's no point of saying that he has what it takes to become a champ. He even got punched in the body at one point in round 4 and started backing up and doing a little bit of a moonwalk dance and trying to trick out Canelo, but that's the only thing he was good at in the fight. Was the fight boring? Well, like I said, looking back at it now and seeing the highlights and such, and even though I have gone back and I have finally managed to watch the fight a little bit fully about a few hours ago before recording this podcast. And even though I haven't recorded any notes or wrote down any notes, I have nothing in my notepad, and I'm already watching the highlight on YouTube right now as we're speaking. And guys, these highlights are these highlights are only 2 minutes and 3 minutes long. And even though some of the videos I've seen a few hours ago before making this podcast and such, it's hard for me to know what round I'm talking about. But you look back at it, I really can't argue about a lot of the things that happen here. It is what it is, but I look back at it as it was just William Scull running away and just having Canelo chasing him. But guys, this is almost like a rendition of, guys, seeing... I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's... Guys, the thing is, watching Canelo Alvarez trying to catch up with William Scull is like a rendition of John Real Casimiro defeating Guillermo Rigondeaux back in 2021 when the entire 12 rounds of the fight, 12 rounds of boxing, they weren't even throwing a lot of punches. And it was just Guillermo getting out of the way, dodging, doing his running shoes. But Guillermo Rigondeaux wasn't even leading up to the step. Like every time Guillermo is about to go closer in for the kill, Rigondeaux gets out of the way and starts dodging and running and back into the other side of the rope because he doesn't want to get hit or hurt. Even after the first round, the fight got crazy. In other rounds, or even one time when the bell rung, Guillermo still threw the punch to friggin' John. Like I don't know what to say about that. But moments, there's times that John Real Casimero wasn't closing in. Every time Guillermo Rigondeaux gets out of the way and goes the other side, John Real is not closing in. Like he's having problems not even trying to close in for the fight. At least Canelo Alvarez, on the other hand, at least he's trying his best to close in the fight. And at least William Scull is throwing punches. Even times in some rounds, like even in round 5 when Canelo went straight after him, he was going to go for an attack in the corner, and William did manage to land a good punch on him to scare him off and get him there. But the thing is, he wasn't doing a lot of jabs. He wasn't doing a lot of work and such. Like William Scull was throwing more punches, total punches in other fights, even after 6 or so rounds or so. I think it was round 6 it was, because it did say on the score sheet that he had thrown 169 punches after 6 rounds, more than a lot than Canelo in the fight. Not body punches. He was in the body punches. That was Canelo. But when it came to total punches landed, not the body or so, it was pretty even on. But those body punches and other things is what made Canelo win those rounds. And that was a problem. So even though William Scull was throwing more punches after 6 rounds and then other rounds later on and other stuff, the problem was he just couldn't stop running away. It's that bad. And eventually, even after other rounds of the fight, well, I think that was round 6, because round 6 was the round where William Scull threw a lot of those punches, but he wasn't landing a lot of all punches in the fight as much after round 6 and even round 7 and round 8. Even though there was one moment in round 7, he did have something done in that round as well, but nothing much. Even though William Scull was trying to land on punches and doing, but him running away and having Canelo being the aggressor of the fight and doing better work with body punches and such is what made Canelo won that fight more deserving than anything else. And I don't know what to say, guys. I don't know what to say. This fight, don't know. Looking back at this fight, guys, I do see Crawford beating Canelo. But yet again, even though Canelo and Crawford is almost in his late 40s and mid 30s for Canelo, and Skull's 32, so... And even though I am thinking that Canelo Alvarez might retire until 2025, but there's a lot of these other people, like his wife and other people, and people online saying that, he's going to stay until 2030 or so, or for another 5 more years or so, until 2030 or so. But only God knows when your career ending is going to come to an end. And if he does get hurt bad in anything against him and Terence Crawford, who knows? But Israel Madrimov did put an interesting performance against Terence Crawford last year in the month of August, when squeaking that 12-round fight. Even though Crawford did dominate the good 12-round fight, but I still saw Israel doing an interesting job. So who knows? But still, I do see the super light welterweight division and a little bit of the middleweight being an interesting work for Terence Crawford. But seeing him going up to weight class, I just question that. I just don't understand why. Stop. I hate it. But here's the thing. My final thought about this entire show is, right, guys, I am going to give this boxing fight, a 1 star out of 5. Probably a 1.5 star out of 5. Just because the first 6 rounds of the fight were decent. And even though in round 10, William Scull did got my feet back up when I saw him in round 10, I was like, ooh, is he doing something? But he was just still running away because that's what he was doing in all the time there. But he did do some interesting moments in round 10 that got me thinking maybe something might happen. But after that round was over, yeah. Canelo, on the other hand, it just goes to show you, like, Canelo Alvarez, man, 12-round fights. That's all it is, 12 rounds. Guys, I hope they don't go back to Saudi Arabia, because due to the timelines of what time it is in Saudi Arabia and what time is here in New York or Los Angeles and what the time system is, and me trying to go to bed, and I couldn't even watch much of the fight or even watch the fight until waking up this morning before making this podcast. And even when I watched the highlight videos last night, even when I could barely sleep when I didn't watch the fight because I didn't want to pay money for it, I just really felt that there was just so much stuff. I just hope we don't get this problem again. But you know what, guys? We're just going to have to wait and see. But guys, I think I'm just going to save my energy for talking in the next video, because I'm already going to do, you know it, Raymond Cardenas versus Naoya Inoue. And even though I'm predicting Inoue to go round 7 by TKO against Raymond Cardenas, we'll see if that prediction is true or not. And who knows? Rafael Espinoza, I could see an interesting knockout win for him there. Heck, I could even... Who knows? I can even see... I can even see a great heavyweight fight, if there is one heavyweight fight, because guess what? There is no heavyweight fights today in Las Vegas, Nevada. There's going to be other fights out there to watch, so we might as well wait and see next time. So with that being said, thanks for watching, and Foxwolf, out.